This is unbelievable.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what
Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the next Democrat candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. And wow, just wow. I mean, if you thought Biden was going to be easy to beat, I'm telling you, Donald Trump is loving this. Donald Trump is like, this is absolutely perfect. I mean, it's just literally, I mean, when you think it's bad, right? And it gets worse. It's like they just can't figure their way out of a paper bag, these Democrats. Welcome to the show. Make sure to subscribe. This is Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. Do your part. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. This is amazing. I mean, this is really, really, really amazing. We're going to talk all about it. But first, the pressure's on Biden. Is it not? Like he's got to deliver somehow, some way. And this is a really important moment. These days are extremely important for him. He's got a big interview over on ABC News coming up tonight with George Stephanopoulos. It's all taped, of course. That's how he likes it, because you never know what's going to happen when he's not on tape. Like what just happened. Did you see this? So again, all the pressure is on him. All the eyes are keeping a look at Joe Biden because it's got to be sort of perfect right about now. And what does he do? He goes on the radio and starts talking about how he's a black woman. Yeah, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. This guy cannot speak. Listen.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman to serve with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
There's so much we can do. Me as a black woman, you know, I told you I was into all that trans stuff. My goodness. This guy is, unfortunately for him, he's clearly seen his better days. I'm not saying he was ever a good speaker, but at this point, it's sort of game over. You got to wonder, is that what he's going to tell us tonight? I mean, I think it's just a matter of days, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. So does Donald Trump. We'll get to that in a second. But take a look at this. This is apparently, according to the New York Times, what is being reported. This is apparently the situation at this moment right now. He has told an ally that he was weighing his options. But then, of course, he said, no way. No, I'm in it to win it. I'm in it to win it, except I can't win it, right? Not when I'm a rambling person who somehow thinks I'm a black woman and I'm still vice president. Well, that wasn't the end of it. So he went on the radio show, obviously blundered, and then he went and did this big 4th of July celebration at the White House and started talking off the cuff to reporters. I mean, for goodness sakes, if nothing else, Joe, don't do that. Please don't do that. Listen to what he said then.
You got me, man. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's staying.
All right. All right, I'll come back out when they open the gate, okay? Thank you. One last thing. You know, I used to think when I was a senator, there were always congestion on the highways. There's no congestion anymore. None. Regarding the highway, there's no congestion. And so the way they get me to stop talking, they'll say, we just shut down all the roads, Mr. President. You're going to lose all the votes if you don't get in. But anyway, I'll be back out. Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I mean, what was that? Now he's walking off. He's picking up the gate a little bit. He's trying to walk a little bit faster. You've noticed that in recent videos that we've seen. He's walking just a tad faster, which is a good thing. But I really do wonder, what the heck was that? What was he trying to communicate? Maybe, here's the reality. He's in a caravan with Secret Service. And so guess what? When he goes on the highway nowadays, it's a whole lot faster than it used to be. Way better than when he was a senator. Oh my gosh. Well, we're stuck with him, really? That's what his wife seems to be implying over and over and over again. You've seen her making the rounds. It's like she's the one campaigning suddenly. In fact, they even came out with this nifty Juneteenth thing, but they came out with it like 2 days ago, strangely, at the White House. And it was all Jill talking over and over and over again, because somehow now Jill is running things. Jill is running for president and somehow giving access or not giving access for that matter, to the president. So at some point, they're going to have to make a decision. I think a lot is riding on this interview that he's going to be doing with George Stephanopoulos tonight. George Stephanopoulos, I wonder, while we might think he is in the Biden camp, a lot of these people in the administration suddenly, or in the administration, in the mainstream media, forgive me, they used to be in the administration. That's the case anyway with George Stephanopoulos. A lot of them are not in Biden's corner right now. And the reason for that is because they want to win and they're very, very competitive. And they've realized this is not a good situation to be in, that they have a candidate who really can't speak, articulate himself, walk, and is not going to be able to make it through another 4 years. And so selfishly, they still want to win. And so they're suddenly turning on him in a really, really big way. I mean, it's important to think about because, this is not what they were telling us just a couple of weeks ago. In fact, 10 days ago, we heard an entirely different story. I do believe I had to listen to MSNBC and Scarborough tell us that this was the best Biden ever. Remember?
Tell us why you came to that conclusion.
Actually, now they're singing a different tune, a very, very different tune. They're stunned. In fact, if you look at this, what I was just showing you, and we're going to go to this momentarily, but this is a cover that was with The Economist that just came out this week. And it shows a walker, and it's an editorial saying the guy's got to step down. The guy's got to step down. I mean, obviously, he's got to step down. So we're going to talk about a lot of this today, including what happens if he doesn't step down. Do they have any there, right? What do they do? Do they invoke the 25th Amendment? That's actually what's being discussed at this moment in time. But I'll tell you this, you know who knows? You know who knows? It's game over for Joe Biden. None other than his competitor, Donald Trump. He was caught on a cell phone video playing golf for the 4th of July holiday. And this is what he had to say. Take a listen to this. Biden's out.
What did I do with the debate the other night?
Amazing.
Kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's just so bad. So
I just can't imagine.
But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they probably he can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just keep knocking him out, right?
Well, calling it like it is. He's assessing the new competition. And the new competition isn't really much for competition. I mean, this is very good news for supporters of Donald Trump, for conservatives, because, well, I'm beginning to wonder what they're thinking. I mean, this is really and truly who they want to put in. The woman who, if nothing else, really at this point, I think deserves a new speech writer. I mean, that's the upside, right? If, for goodness sakes, they decide to put Kamala Harris in, can we get a new speechwriter?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened.
I mean, really?
What has been. What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be.
Donald Trump's like, bring it on.
What has been.
I mean, I'm not going to play the whole thing, guys, because it's 4 minutes straight of what can be unburdened by what has been. I think she's trying to say, look to the future. Don't look to the past. Just look to the future. But it's Kamala, you see, and she wants to use fancy words to try and prove how smart she is. Good luck. So if this is the candidate for president, wow, this is just making Donald Trump's dream come true, because you ought to see the polls. We're going to get to those in a second. But first, is it in the water? I'm going to just throw that out there. Is there something in the water at the White House that just makes everybody go suddenly stupid? Because obviously, Joe Biden has his issues and his problems, but apparently Kamala has them too. Kamala can't seem to remember if she's president or vice president. This is an unbelievable clip from the 4th of July. On top of it, you got Biden mixing up his darn holidays, coming out there thinking he's Santa on the 4th of July. Watch.
our commander-in-chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary
She almost said vice.
President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Happy Independence Day.
He almost said Merry Christmas. Really and truly. I think he was about to say Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day. And she's calling him the vice. I mean, my gosh, what's going on over there? They got a rough situation, okay? This is a rough situation. You have only to look at the polls to know how rough it's going to get. As they say, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'll tell you what, they might all be better off if they were taking their fruits and veggies every day. A quick plug for our sponsor here, Balance in Nature. We're so happy to have them here. They're one of the reasons we can bring you this show every single day. And I love it, by the way. I love taking this fruits and veggies every day. They send it to me every month. It's balanceinnature.com. You can get 50% off. I actually have never seen this big of a discount before. The other day when I read it to you guys, I was like, whoa, because I assumed it was 35%, but it's 50%. Go check out their website. There's lots of testimonials there. Don't just take my word for it, although I'm not going to steer you wrong. I really, really like this stuff. Balanceofnature.com. Use code word Trish, TRISH, for your discount, 50% off. You can call them at 1-800-246-8751, 246-8751. Give them a ring, use my name, get your 50% off today. But really, we're looking at a messed up situation with Kamala Harris looking to be front and center. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this is really and truly who they're going to run. Every single poll has her struggling, but he's telling his friends. He's telling his friends that it's likely going to be something he has to consider, right? He's weighing his odds. I don't know if you really get to weigh your odds. Let me just say that there's a lot of money out there, and you have the likes of Abigail Disney and other well-heeled, the Disney family, donators to the campaign that are saying, we're not comfortable. I mean, Abigail came out and said she's not going to give another dime until she knows that he has stepped down, that they have a new candidate, because people don't want to just throw good money after bad. They're looking at this saying, hey, we got to cut our losses. We got the whole big shindig coming up, the Democrat convention in a couple of weeks. And so we want to make sure that we have a candidate that can win. And you look at all of the polling data, one after another. I mean, there was the New Hampshire poll that came out of St. Anselm's College just the other day. They haven't voted, amazingly, for a conservative for president since the year 2000. Bush was the last one. And now he's up 2 points there. You look at all the polls coming out of the Midwest, even going into this debate, and he was ahead. Donald Trump was way ahead, in some cases 3 points, 4 points in Michigan, Pennsylvania. And now you're looking overwhelmingly at a country that's saying, wait a second, we can't sign this guy up for another 4 years. He's just not capable. He's really not. And so consequently, donors are like, okay, we got to pull. We got to pull the money. We can't allow this to continue. And you know what's amazing to me? It's so amazing. Make sure you subscribe, by the way. Thumbs up, like, share, make a comment, all that good stuff. I'm watching your comments live. We're going to get to them momentarily. But the media is so stunned by all this. I told you about the Economist cover. The Economist has a walker on the front cover, and they're basically saying, it's time to go, buddy boy. You got to get out. You got to get out now. So they're in sync with the New York Times, with the New Yorker, with the Boston Globe, with all of the members of the media, including CNN, who conducted the debate the other night. Everybody's seeing the handwriting on the wall. I want to go to the editor-in-chief of The Economist that published that cover. Here she is on Morning, I believe it's Morning Joe. Someone is on one of those MSNBC shows talking about why it's so critical. He stepped down, and he do it fast. Watch.
Tell us why you came to that conclusion.
Well, for a start, we actually argued back in 2022 that he should be a one-term president and should not run again, which was something in large part because of his age, and that was massively reinforced last week. I mean, I watched the debate like millions of Americans and was shocked to see a befuddled old man struggling to recall words and facts. And you're right that maybe this was an episode, but the president has not really been made available to very many people in informal settings or settings where he can really be questioned. And I think, like many Americans, we were just shocked at that performance.
Yeah. But you know what? You really shouldn't have been. You shouldn't have been that shocked, because I guess it was just us crazies over here, right? That we're trying to tell you, people that stream, that have podcasts, we kept saying, he doesn't look well, he doesn't look well. But somehow that was just, I don't know, what did they call that? That was just a cheap fake, remember? Well, I'll tell you this, you know what? The media was lying for him all along. All along. They were sort of conspiring, if you would, together with the Biden administration, because they still thought this was their horse to back until they couldn't back him anymore. But we had to listen to this over and over again. Remember?
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
She knows so long as she was denied.
In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
President Biden has a photographic memory. His understanding and mastery of a complicated geopolitical situation, remarkable.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
I was sitting, 2 feet from him across the
table. It was bad, right? We had to listen to that and listen to that and listen to that. And they sat there and they said with a straight face that he was in great shape and that everything was fine. And it was really just all of us that were making this up. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't all of us. If you were smart, you would have taken our advice, including yours truly, who said at least 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, you got to cut your losses and find another candidate. But you see, the problem is Joe Biden doesn't want to leave. He absolutely, positively doesn't want to leave. So what do you do in that case? You're the Democrats. You're saying, okay, we got a convention coming right up. And this guy doesn't want out. Can you do anything right then? I don't know as you can without starting a very, very big problem. But keep in mind, this is what the New Yorker's writing. Effectively, this is what the 25th Amendment is for, ladies and gentlemen. So what it may come down to is that he doesn't have a choice. If the party makes a decision, we want you gone because you can't win. And you're feeble and you're old. And, I'm not an ageist, by the way. 81 shows you, if anything else, the age is just a number. Because Donald Trump looked like his son up there on stage. He looked like vibrant and healthy and with it, had a sense of humor. He was fantastic. And then you look at Biden, who can't remember effectively what day it is, and you realize 81 is sort of meaningless when Trump is only 3 years younger and yet looks as though he's 30 years younger. But what do you do, in all seriousness, if he won't leave office? Well, CNN actually took a look at this issue, and I think it's kind of interesting to see. I mean, there's a few things at play. They'd probably have to give it to Kamala because she's the one who would have the command over the money. But I also think that if they're going to force him out because of the 25th Amendment, they're going to have to force him out altogether, right? She's going to have to become the president. They don't have a choice. And she would seemingly become the candidate because it's going to be kind of hard to overlook her under the circumstances. But it's a real question. Like, what if he says, I'm not going to leave? And that's what he's telling us. And that's what Jill's telling us. If he's really sticking to that and he's not going to leave office, what do they do? CNN took a look at it. I want to watch this together with you.
If President Biden leaves the race, analysts say it would almost certainly have to be his decision to bow out voluntarily.
It's unlikely that if Joe Biden does not step down voluntarily, that there would be a different nominee at the top of the ticket.
If he doesn't voluntarily leave, someone in the Democratic Party could try to replace him by introducing an open nomination process at the Democratic National Convention in August. But that scenario is unlikely. Still, even if the president decides on his own to quit the race, the process for replacing him is uncertain and somewhat messy.
The primaries are over, the caucuses are over. You can't redo the primaries or caucuses. You can't elect new delegates.
If Biden steps aside before the convention, it could turn the convention itself into a free-for-all, or at least make it full of intrigue. Names of replacements would be put forward, and the roughly 3,900 Democratic delegates from across the country would decide who to vote for as the nominee.
Oh, it's up to the delegates. In the end, it's up to them.
President Biden won almost all of those 3,900 delegates in the primaries. But does he have control over who they support if he's out of the race?
It's not like Joe Biden can say, okay, I'm stepping down. All of you delegates that signed on for me have to now support this other candidate. That's not how it works. Those delegates would essentially be free to move in the way they want.
Like the days of old, backroom deals and lobbying could prevail at the convention as potential nominees try to convince the delegates to get behind them. In the end, how many of the 3,900 delegates would a candidate have to win at the convention to get the nomination?
Ultimately, they would have to convince somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 plus Democratic delegates to vote for them on a roll call vote.
If no candidate can convince roughly 2,000 delegates to vote for them in the first round, then additional so-called superdelegates, about 700 of them, comprised of party insiders and elected officials, are also allowed to join in the voting. It would all mean a late start for any candidate, including in the money race. If Vice President Kamala Harris won the nomination, she would presumably be able to use Biden's campaign war chest because her name is on all the filings. But any other candidate may have to raise their own money.
Our thanks to Brian Todd for that report.
And our thanks to CNN for that report. In other words, they get 3,900. Those votes have already been pledged to Joe Biden. So if Joe Biden doesn't exit stage left, literally, and somehow give those to Kamala, actually, I think what they're sort of saying is it wouldn't necessarily even automatically go to her. I mean, it would be the easiest solution in that she would get to keep all the money, etc. But this is kind of uncharted territory, guys. I mean, they are about to strip away the guy who's top of the ticket, who's the president of the United States right now, and probably do so using this 25th Amendment. And the only option they have effectively is to put Kamala in there. I mean, Trump knows it. And Trump's loving it, by the way. Again, watch him there on the golf course.
What did I do with the debate the other night?
Amazing.
Kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's just so bad. So
I just can't imagine.
Can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they probably he can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just keep knocking him out, right?
Yeah, he probably is quitting. I think that's probably what's going to come out. I mean, unless he just wows us somehow in this big interview with ABC, I think that the concern is that he's slowly, actually quickly deteriorating. And obviously you can't have the person who's running the free world not be in full mental capacity, not have that entire capacity at his fingertips. A quick shout out, by the way, to 76 Research as we consider everything that's going on right now. A lot of people are really nervous about their future, nervous about the country's future, nervous about investing, etc. I just want to point out that because of the holiday, July 4th, we have a special Independence Day offer for you at 76 Research, or go to 76report.com for just $1 a month. With code word dollar, DOLLAR, just $1 a month. You can get my financial research. I started this company in conjunction with a dear friend, Rob Horton, who's been following stocks, and he's been a fantastic stock picker, running billions of dollars on Wall Street for more than 20 years. And I said, I want to do something where we can really give the best quality, best-in-class research to all of America. Frankly, all of America, because you guys deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve better than what the big banks are trickling down. And by the way, you got to invest, okay? Any which way you slice it, you've got to do this for yourself. I don't care if it's $5 or $10. I realize a week. Try and put aside whatever you can to be able to put in the financial markets. And I'm not saying it's a direct line up, but there are ways to mitigate risk. It's one of the things that we do in our model portfolios. So take a look at those as well, the model portfolios. But subscribe to the 76 Report, 76report.com or 76research.com for just $1. Code word $1 a month. I really want you guys to do that. It's an introductory price because I want to get more people investing. I want you to have control over your future. Kamala Harris, meanwhile, well, does she have any control over her future? She wants to be unburdened by the past, that's for sure, right?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened.
I just can't believe
by
this.
What has been. What can be.
I can't believe this woman is the vice president of the United States. Anyway, nobody wants her to actually be president. Take a look at the latest polls showing that in a matchup against Donald Trump, she does worse, even worse than Joe Biden. Imagine that. Well, I have a feeling she's going to be unburdened by what has been momentarily as soon as he steps down. Of course, this poll is not looking very good for her or for the Democrats. So then you say to yourself, what are they going to do? Who are they going to run? I mean, look at your opportunities. You get Gavin Newsom, who's made a train wreck out of California. California is turning into Venezuela before our eyes. You got Gretchen Whitmer, who's not exactly popular. She's the one that made sure you couldn't even go to your vacation house in the same state. Remember, during March of 2020, although her husband could pull his boat out of the water and, go all over the lake. Yeah, Gretchen Whitmer is being discussed. They've got Gavin Newsom, Gretchen, Kamala Harris. This is not a winning crowd, ladies and gentlemen, not a winning crowd. And then, of course, there's a lot of chatter about Michelle Obama, who right now, according to the deep, dark, secret polls of the Democrat Party, is the only one that could actually beat Donald Trump. I take issue with that. I don't think that it's a slam dunk. I think she'd be an interesting choice, but not a slam dunk. Meanwhile, how can you take it away from the woman who is the vice president, really? And you get all these representatives now. It was led first by Tim Ryan, but now Huffman out of California. He's calling for Kamala as well. Listen.
I don't think that's helpful. I think we've got to take a very sober look at the reality of the race as it currently stands. And it wasn't just one bad night. It was a bad night that may have locked in a really unfortunate narrative about President Biden's age and fitness. And that narrative could be very hard to undo. So we've just got to be honest about that. We're 4 months before the election, and the guy who's threatening our democracy, our fundamental rights, and the free world right now is winning. We got to fix that.
It may be hard to undo that narrative, but do you see a way for President Biden, perhaps through these interviews or standing in front of a crowd of reporters without a teleprompter answering questions, do you see a way for him to regain the confidence of your party and its voters?
Well, Boris, there's not a lot of time, and that narrative is, pretty established now. It wasn't just one debate, and so it's going to be very difficult for this president to undo it. And I will say this, my colleague Jim Clyburn said something very important. If President Biden decides that in the interests of defeating Donald Trump and saving this democracy and the free world from everything he represents, that he is ready to pass the torch, it needs to be, and I think should be, Vice President Harris at the top of the ticket. And I can imagine any number of really compelling people that could round out a winning ticket with Vice President Harris, a ticket that would bring all kinds of enthusiasm and excitement to this race and put us in a position to win it.
That is significant that you would support the vice president stepping in for President Biden should he decide to step aside.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So yeah, it's looking increasingly like Kamala might get the gig. Here's Tim Ryan saying some similar stuff.
Well, we all saw the debate on Thursday. I mean, you can't ignore it. You can't ask people to unsee what they saw.
No.
Not only did they watch it in real time, so many people have personal experiences with their parents, their grandparents. They know what the aging process looks like. And that person on the stage there was not capable of governing the United States of America, being in those difficult meetings, being in those difficult situations. And so I think we have to recognize that as quickly as possible, rip the Band-Aid off. We have a great vice president who has 3.5 years of seasoning in the highest levels of government. She would be a great campaigner, energize our base. So many of the different aspects of the Democratic coalition would be super excited about a Kamala Harris run. And we should get behind her and take the campaign to Donald Trump and get this country back where it needs to be.
Tim, have you heard her laugh? I mean, have you heard her laugh? Have you heard the word salad? It kind of makes you wonder, does it not? I brought this up the other day. It kind of makes you wonder if they're almost deliberately putting her out there and then showing all these polls one after another. And the more they put her out there, you know, the more she's going to sink in those polls, proving that this lady cannot win, proving that she's more of a problem. I mean, you can think about this a couple of ways. One, you can have some of the supporters of Biden perhaps putting her out there, pushing her out there to prove, hey, you know what, you're better off with him because she's going to be even worse. Or you could actually have some Obama handlers behind the scene talking her up, because then they're going to say, well, we can't choose her either. So it's got to be Michelle, right? It's got to be Michelle because she's the only one who's going to deliver things for the Democrat Party. I got to say, like, that is really shameful because the woman has no experience. I mean, really and truly no experience. She was married to the president. There's another rumor circulating out there. This is unbelievable. That there's some kind of legal loophole that would enable former President Obama to run as Biden's VP. Now that's a good one, right? I mean, whoa. You think about that. I mean, basically, we're just looking increasingly like Russia. I do believe that Vladimir Putin put Medvedev in the seat for a while, right? Medvedev took over because of some technicalities. Medvedev was acting as president, even though Putin was controlling everything behind the scenes. Is that what we're going to do? I mean, we kind of think that Obama's been controlling things behind the scenes anyway for the last 3.5 years. So many similar team members, et cetera. So now we put him in as vice president to give everybody some reassurance that in case Joe goes, and Joe may, I mean, or at least they may decide to invoke that 25th Amendment sooner rather than later for him. Well, then you've got somebody keeping the seat warm who's already been president before. I mean, they're talking about this. So it's worth at least knowing what's going through their head. And then I guess the other option would be Michelle Obama. But I'll tell you, it can't be this lady.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
It just can't be.
What can be unburdened.
It can't be. If it is, we're all in trouble. Another reason why you got to think about your portfolio, you got to think about investing. Great news for you guys. We have a wonderful sponsor on this show, American Hartford Gold. Go to trishlovesgold.com for your opportunity to get up to $15,000 in free silver when you buy gold with them. So this is the offer. You can get it if you text my name, Trish, to 65532. Again, 65532. Just text my name, Trish, to 65532 to learn more. Up to $15,000 in free silver, everyone. And look, I mean, gold is on a tear. Like I said, I don't steer you wrong. I don't steer you wrong. I mean, gold has been on a tear. Now, I can't predict the price of gold, but I can predict this. We are probably in for more challenges as we go forward. I think, Mike O'Donnell, you were talking earlier about $35 trillion in debt. Look, this debt level is out of control for sure. And the longer this continues, the more something like gold is going to look more and more attractive to people. You look at even just countries around the globe, central banks everywhere are increasing their gold holdings, in part because they don't trust us the way they used to, in part because we're just continuing to rack up insane amounts of debt with the 35 trillion and counting. And so as a result, they're looking for some other way. And, you know, Bitcoin I like, but it's not there yet. Oh my gosh. B, thank you for that very, very nice comment. Again, I'm looking at your comments in real time. And B is writing, Trish is gold. Thank you. That is very, very sweet. Well, just go to Trish Loves Gold, trishlovesgold.com today to get more information, if you would, on how you can get this special offer from American Hartford Gold. But overall, I mean, when you look at what the media has now come out saying, take a peek here. These are some of the headlines that came out the very next day after the debate. President Biden is my friend. He must bow out of the race, from Tom Friedman. You have Frank Bruni saying Biden cannot go on like this. Patrick Healy, I'm hearing high anxiety from Democrats over Biden's debate performance. And then Christoph saying, President Biden, it's time to drop out. I mean, the handwriting's on the wall, at least for everybody except for family members around him, which really makes you wonder. I mean, who needs enemies when you got friends and family like this? Jill Biden, who's trying to push him to run no matter what.
What you saw last night on the debate stage was Joe Biden, a president with integrity and character, who told the truth. And Donald Trump told lie after lie after lie. Oh, you're good. You're so good.
So why don't you just run her? Or better yet,
victory.
Why not Hunter? Did you see him at the award ceremony?
The risk of this mission,
look at that.
Of all this mission,
He's at an official ceremony at the White House.
Caught,
You wonder who's running the country right now?
Philip, George, all the
This
men
gentleman
were given a chance to walk
and the
away.
wife of the president have a heck of a lot of power. And that's not right. That's not right. He's not in good shape. We all know it, and yet everyone's still trying to cover for him. You know, it's funny. Even Jake Tapper, who a few weeks ago actually got all over Lara Trump because he accused her of making fun of stuttering. And she was emphatic. She's like, no, Jake, I'm not making fun of people who stutter. I'm making fun of the fact that the president can't get his words out. And Jake was all mad, right? Because Jake is doing what he's supposed to, good little reporter there on CNN. He's doing exactly what he's being told. I think he got different marching orders, though. And now you get the Obama people saying it's time to take him down. Time to take him down because we can't win like this. And so that's exactly what he's doing. Watch him here sort of shocked that fake news really is fake, right? That Karine Jean-Pierre is not to be believed when she says the president is fine.
The White House also said today that the president is, quote, absolutely not thinking about stepping down. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that President Biden is, quote, as sharp as ever, unquote. As sharp as ever, she said. She said that. But there...
So now, which is the cheap fake, I ask? Don't you love this meme? Any unedited video of Joe Biden's cognitive decline that the Biden administration does not want the public to see. That's what we had to hear KJP tell us, and the Washington Post for that matter, and others. Every time we'd show something where he didn't seem to be quite right, we were guilty of cheap fakes. Well, now, guess what? They're having a hard time. I mean, even his former press secretary is saying you can't sugarcoat this one.
Wagner with California Governor Gavin Newsom. Many thanks to you both. Jen Psaki's joined us here at the table. Jen, what was your reaction to the debate, and what are you hearing from people you've been talking to over the course of the night?
Well, I've been listening to what you all have been saying, and I don't think we should sugarcoat this. This was not the debate performance that the Biden campaign team wanted or needed from this debate, in part because they wanted to do this debate as early as they did to change this up, right? Mm-hmm. To bring the Joe Biden who was at the State of the Union to the debate stage. That's not the Joe Biden who showed up at the debate stage. You could see inklings of that or wrinkles of that or whatever you want to say at the post-debate event, right?
In the very last answer of the debate, and when all of a sudden it was like, oh, he's warmed up.
Yes, yes. And as you said, Rachel, he did improve as the night went on. His voice improved. His answers improved. He had a couple of moments. I thought his answer on calling out Trump's criminality was pretty good. He was a little garbly on abortion. If you're the campaign, you're going to push out the best moments, there were a couple, on social media. But it's not the debate they wanted. I think the biggest challenge for them, and Nicole's been talking about this a little bit, and we've sat in similar chairs, is how distracting all of the chatter is going to be, which I'm getting, we're all getting on text, on email, about whether he should be replaced. That chatter is happening. People are asking questions. I don't mean it's from the American public writ large, and we don't know how they feel, and we won't know for some time. And if you look at history, this may not impact them at all. But the chatter is very distracting, and it's going to be very consuming for the campaign. Should he be replaced? They're going to be answering that question instead of breaking through on attacking Trump.
May I ask? I asked Joy.
Yeah, but I think that question has been answered. I mean, it really has. And so it gets you back to Kamala Harris. Vice President Kamala Harris, the New York Times writes, has spent a year trying to quiet her doubters with President Biden's candidacy on the line, Democrats are assessing her odds. So there's an article leading the New York Times right now called The Reintroduction of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was in charge, do not forget, of the border. Well, we know that the border is one of the biggest issues besides inflation for America right now. And she has so clearly failed spectacularly on the border, wouldn't even go to the border, don't forget, for a very long time. So realistically, when you see polls like the one I just showed you, when you see that she is actually more likely to lose to Donald Trump than President Biden, then the question really becomes, who have they got? Who have they got? They know they got to do something. Here's one of Obama's former team players, Van Jones on CNN.
I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain for what we saw tonight.
So here we are now looking at possibly Kamala Harris running for the presidency. Now, what's really tricky, you see, is, again, if they were to say, no, we're going to give it to Gavin, and Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer are going to come in, then how is that going to make their black constituency feel? She's black, she's a woman, and she's getting passed over. They've actually created the perfect storm for themselves. I mean, you can't make it up. Unless, of course, this was intended all along. We're going down a rabbit hole, but I still say that Michelle Obama is lurking out there. And she's probably the most competitive person they have. And she's black, and she's a woman. Right? She's checking all the boxes. The other option is, we'll bring Obama back. Former President Obama, we'll put him on the ticket. Make him vice president alongside Joe. Well, again, that's not good for Kamala, and women are not really going to like that. And so I think they're really up a creek without a paddle. I don't know what they do in this situation, but they got themselves, and it's their own darn fault, in a really bad spot because they will not cultivate and bring up their own. Joe Biden has some really sharp elbows for such an old guy. And he's just shoved everyone aside, and he keeps on doing that. And he thinks he's in this to win this. And of course, he's got the wife and the son along for the ride. Here's Joe. Oh, you know what? I'm not young anymore, but I still got it going on. Yeah, right.
Let me close with this. I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. Well, I don't. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
There's no getting up from this one, though, Joe. You got knocked down a little bit too far this time around. I want to get back to the market for just a moment. Quick market check. You can see that as you know, we're heading into a weekend. You've got a little bit of upside. The Dow's managed to turn things around. A little bit of upside there. The S&P 500, which is dominated by these big tech stocks. So keep that in mind. By the way, if you want something that's more secure, just know that the S&P 500, which I do believe in investing in for sure. You need an S&P 500 index fund. Just know, though, be aware that that is very, very slanted to some of those big tech stocks, NVIDIA included. And sometimes I'm like, wait a second, you might as well just be in the NASDAQ, which is up 0.8% today. But part of the reason for this is the expectation that we're going to get rate cuts again by the Federal Reserve, because you got a not very good jobs report. In fact, the unemployment rate went up. It's now 4.1%. And there were a couple adjustments that were made on the jobs report showing that these revisions actually reduced the number of jobs being added to the economy by 100,000. And if we look at the jobs that are being added, for that matter, leisure and hospitality, which have been a big source of job growth, they're just around 7,000. Retail had about 8,500. Temporary help, which we like to watch, right? Because it's a potential leading indicator. It leads us to think that, okay, if people are hiring temporary help, then that must mean good things are ahead. That actually came in negative 48,000. And what we're actually seeing is that all of the jobs are in that healthcare and government sector. So hospitals added 22,000, and then you had all these government jobs being added. 74% of the jobs coming from government and healthcare and education. So that's where the bulk of these are. And it's really not, in my estimation, a very positive sign for the economy. But some are speculating that actually means the Federal Reserve is going to possibly cut rates before November. Everybody in Washington, everybody in the White House really, really wants that rate cut. But what would that do? That would most likely lead to even more inflation. I mean, when you make money that cheap and you make it that plentiful and dollars are just, here, there, and everywhere, what happens? It becomes more plentiful. So another reason for you guys, let me put it up here, 76research.com. Go take a look at that, because there is an inflation protection portfolio at 76research.com, and you can use code DOLLAR to get at least the 76 report, which has a lot of ideas, often some of the ideas from the main portfolios there. I encourage you to go to 76research.com or 76report.com. Type in code word dollar, DOLLAR, for your opportunity there to get this at just $1 a month, because you got to do something, right? You got to do something. You got to be able to combat these people, these crazy people that seem to want to turn us into Venezuela, right? Or worse. Hey, it's great to have you guys here. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure that you do. Subscribe to the show. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the like. I see so many familiar faces. I love that. I absolutely love that. We've developed quite a little community here. And you know what? We're cutting through the noise. We're cutting through all of the noise and all of the lies and all of the spin. And you can always say, I heard it there first. I heard it on the Trish Regan Show first, because we have no incentive other than to offer you the absolute 1,000% clarity and truth to everything that's out there. We're tired of the spin. We're tired of the political narrative. And, don't forget, I come at this through the economic prism, right? So I'm looking at politics all through what is good for us as a nation, what is the best for our pocketbooks. And so I think it really has always affected how I report on politics. And hopefully it's different than what you're getting out there in the mainstream media. There are no teleprompters. It's just you and me. Good to see you guys. Peace of mind. Love seeing you back here. All of you guys, Robert, Tommy, James, really good to see you. Matthew as well. We will talk again live on this program on Monday. Lots of material coming your way over the weekend. I will see you soon again.